Zero. Hey, here we are. Bill Caskey here, live as I go live every day during the month of March, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Glad you're with me today. It is Tuesday, March the 7th. Glad you're with me. We started this last week. I appreciate any help you can be in swelling the ranks here a little bit. If you have a comment, make sure you do. I sometimes look at the comments, sometimes I don't. So if I've missed a comment or two, I know I missed one yesterday. Sorry about that. They're coming in. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And so we're coming in. There's coming in a mile a minute. I mean, I can't keep track of them. Anyway, I've got two topics today, and I'm trying to figure out, I'm kind of talking through this a little bit before we begin. And whatever topic we don't cover today, we'll cover tomorrow. One is the idea of what's changing in the whole buyer-seller relationship. What's the future of, not of sales, because I know we have a lot of people who listen to this that are not like frontline sales professionals. And, I got to tell you, I'm tired of the word sales. I'm tired of it. I think it doesn't adequately describe what the professionals, the client acquisition professionals' role is today. Because I think such a small part of it is face-to-face, belly button to belly button, as we used to call it, sales and interaction. Some of it still is, of course. But just think about all the things that you do that have nothing to do with sales, but have to do with setting it up and teeing it up and marketing and personal social media and things like that. So anyway, I want to talk about that tomorrow. Here's what I want to talk about today. Sorry about the tease there, but that keeps you coming back one more day. I want to talk about change in your world. And I was just thinking about this as a tease, because I did say in the graphic that we are going to talk about that tomorrow. Change in your world. Here's what happens. Somebody calls me in. They say, "Hey, our team needs help. We want to, improve our skills. So we want you to come in and help us." And so I go in and I start to work with them. And one of the challenges I used to have, and still do a little bit, is opening their mind up, so that when I start working with them, they're an open book, and they're open, and they're not burdened by either prior trainers or prior beliefs, prior principles. And I find that that's very difficult. So I've created this video series so that before I even start training, and I'll share some of these with you as we go here through the month of March, before we start training, they are to consume these 3 videos. And I'm not sure that's enough. I don't mean there should be 9 videos. I'm not sure I have broken them down enough. In basic training camp in the military, that whole process is about the breakdown. It's about undoing and unlearning what you've already learned about life, about men, about women, about battle. And in my world, it's everything you've learned about how to interact with people, how to persuade people, what role marketing plays, all these things. I'm in a mode of breaking people down, and I don't think I do that well enough. I know I don't. So when somebody comes in to the program, we start working. Well, let's just say there's 10 people in a company. I think there's a whole lot of, "Okay, what you got for me? Oh, I've tried that before. That doesn't work. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've tried that. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll pick that up." And then after 3 or 4 months, people say, "Yeah, it was pretty good. But Bill was good. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't great. It was good." And then 2 people of that group of 10 take it and run with it. And they're like, boom, they're off. And their numbers soar. Same stuff, same principles, same language. Everything's the same. The coaching's the same. The videos are the same. Why do 2 people soar and the other 8 people struggle? Or 4 and 6, whatever those numbers are. I've got one client right now. There's 12 people in the room. All 12 are all in. That's very rare. Now there's some prior hand holding there over the years, but generally it's not the way it works. So what is the difference? And here's, as near I can tell, here's what I have to do better at. And this goes for whether you are a corporate client coming into my fold or you're an individual. Maybe you want to be in the high achiever program, which I have, which is starting up. If you want to learn more, you go to billcaskey.com. See how I slipped it in. I've got to open up enough brain activity, brain stem. I almost said brain stem. I'm not sure I want to do that. I have to open you up enough where you are willing to admit that a little bit of you has to die before you are to take on these new principles and this new philosophy. Because this philosophy that we teach and we're talking about here requires a death of what you have done before, and maybe even the who you were as you were doing that thing. I mean, when I come in and start talking to you and companies about detachment, I want you to be detached from the outcome. That is such a foreign concept, to be truly detached, because we haven't been detached since, I don't know if we ever were. And yet I know that if you are in a healthy way, you're detached from the outcome, you can do better work inside the sales process. You'll just be better. You'll be empowered. You'll be able to say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done all the way through. But if I don't help you identify with someone who is detached from the outcome, then you will continue to be attached to the outcome. And my work will only be marginally effective. Little things like I teach this skill up front. It's this upfront language when you first start talking to a prospect, and it's fairly bold in how it's delivered, but it's not going to be delivered if you can't get in your mind that I don't know whether I can help this customer or not. You have to enter, and I talked about this a little bit in the last couple of days, enter this relationship from a place of I don't know. Well, that is foreign to people, because how many years has it been banged into our heads? You have to be eager, enthusiastic, persistent. You have to know exactly what the customer wants. You have to prove to them how great you are. And it's like, God, that's freaking, it's just an energy suck to do all that. Do you really have to do that? Of course not. But you have to substitute something else for it. And part of that substitution is you have to identify as a different human being. A little bit of you has to die. A little bit of that person who needs the strokes, who needs somebody to applaud when they walk in the room, who needs the customer to say yes, because that is how you establish your self-image and self-worth. That person has to die, because until that person or part of that person dies, you can't detach from the outcome. You will be attached. And everything I say will be filtered through, oh, I can say that, but I can't say that because I'm too attached. So how does one die? How does one put to rest? And maybe that's not the right word, but how does one put to rest that part of you that keeps you from changing? Because part of you does keep you from changing. If you have a comment, put it in here. Number one, I think you have to look at your own beliefs. You have to look at your own beliefs about business, about life, about why you're here, about why you do what you do, about your role in the buyer-seller dance. Because if you don't think about that correctly and your beliefs are antiquated, you won't make a change. Number two, I think you need to put to rest some of the old worldview about sales specifically, about what is your role in the buyer-seller dance. You know, one of the things I teach my clients to do is to adopt a guide role instead of a sales role. Be the guide. Help somebody get from point A to point Z. Help them do that. Forget selling, forget convincing, forget persuading. All that crap goes out the window when you're a guide, when you're just a good guide. And you show up and say, look, where are you now? Where do you want to go? Let me tell you how we work to help you get there. If you want to do business with me, great. If you don't, that's fine. I mean, and why do we make this whole game of customer acquisition so difficult? Anyway, we'll talk about that tomorrow. So beliefs, worldview, and perspective, general perspective on how you think you're supposed to interact with people in the process. And then if you can identify what part of those beliefs and what part of that identity needs to change, it becomes pretty easy to substitute a new way to look at yourself. So when you think about it, you think, okay, what do I need to generate? Where's my business going? What would I want to have in the next year? Let's just say you want to grow from 100 grand to 200 grand a year. I'm just using that as an example. What do you need to identify as? How do you need to show up differently in order to get to 200 grand? That's really the question. It's not what do I need to do? How many calls do I need to make? It's not that. That may come as part of a plan, but you have to first decide, what does the $200,000 person show up looking like different than the $100,000 person? Fearless, unafraid, ask different questions. I bet you do. I bet the 200 grand person asks different questions. I bet they portray their value in a slightly different way. I bet they challenge the customer or the prospect in a slightly different way. I bet they seek to control the process in a slightly different way. I bet they see themselves as different than you do at 100 grand. And nothing wrong with that, by the way. We're all helping each other here. Now, if you want to go from 100 grand to $1 million, I can guarantee you that everything changes. Not only what you do changes, but who you are changes. And I think that's healthy, by the way. Some people are scared to death of that. It's like, look, I've led and believe me, I'm in the process of thinking through some of this right now. I've led this life to this point, and now I want to lead another life, a more enriched, enhanced life. So who do I need to be in order to do that? Because if it's only about action, that doesn't do it. Action doesn't do it, because we always default back to our worldview. If your actions are congruent with your worldview. If I see myself as a $100,000 person, I'm going to do the actions that get me to 100 grand. Okay. Paul says, when we buy new furniture, we usually move out the old furniture. When we change personally, we try to keep both and wonder why it's hard. That's awesome. That's a great analogy. It's a great analogy. We trade our new car in, our old car in, don't we? We don't say, oh no, I've got special attachment to that old 79 Lexus. Oh, I need to keep that, or I need to build an extra garage for all these cars that I don't want to trade in. Of course not. And Paul's right. Furniture is the same way. And as you move the old out and move the new in, you identify differently. It's like when you go out, and I think these days may be over, but generally when I go out and buy a new, I'll call it an outfit. When I go out and buy a new nice shirt at Nordstrom, David Donahue, I call it David Duke, but I don't think it's David Duke, somebody else. But anyway, David Donahue shirt, or a nice pair of jeans, or a sports jacket, a nice sharp sports jacket. I feel different. Tell me you don't feel different. If you don't feel different when you have different clothes on, you're a little weird. Anyway, or maybe I'm weird. Who knows? Somebody's weird in that equation. So who do you identify as, and who do you need to be in order to get, and I'm not talking about being a chameleon, by the way. Who do you need to be today? Well, who do you need to be in front of the church group? And who do you need to be in front of the prospect? No, I'm talking about who do you need to be overall. I don't like this whole chameleon thing where you're in front of one group and you're one way, another group. I hate that. That's absurd. Better to be strong in who you are and be grounded in who you are and be the person you want to be, you need to be in order to accomplish the things you want to accomplish and have the impact. It's not just about money, by the way. Have the impact you need to have. And when you do that, cool things happen. Okay. Let's see a couple of things here. One is, if you have not downloaded your special version of 5 reasons you don't have enough clients, you can go to 5 reasons, the number 5 reasonsclients.com. It's on the screen there. And I know most of you have downloaded that, but if you haven't, there's a couple of videos that come along with that. I talk about some down and dirty things that you're not doing, and that if you were to start doing, you would generate more business, generate more clients. I don't know how much more simple I can make the offer than that. If you're interested in being a part of our high achiever mentoring group, you can go to billcaskey.com, get on I think there's a wait list there at the top. If not, you can connect with me and we'll share some ideas with you. So anyway, tomorrow we'll talk about how the world of selling has changed. I hope this was helpful today. Just think about that. Think about who am I? Because who you are determines what shows up. And if you're trying to get something else to show up, you might have to change who you are. You don't have to change people around you, although sometimes you do. You don't have to change your family. You can't do that, although sometimes you have to. But most of the time, it's just you. It's you. Worry about you first. All right. See you next time. See y'all. Bye.